Hi everyone, it has been so long. It's been over 2 months I think since I sat down and filmed a video. I'm not going to go too much into it, that's not what this video is. The explanation is exciting but not that interesting to listen to. I've basically just been super busy over the past couple of months because I first of all started a new job. I'm now a production editor at Jessica Kingsley, which is one of the imprints of Hachette, which is really exciting. I've been going into the office in London a few times a week. A totally different publishing experience to my previous job, which was from a small independent company, and I was solely an editor there, whereas now my job is more production based. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I've been there about 6 weeks now. Hopefully at some point we'll be able to talk about it a bit more, because I know that like publishing's a topic that a lot of people are interested in, and definitely something that I would like to consider making more videos on in the future. I've also moved, so I was living in a shared flat before, and now I'm still living in a shared flat but just with one other friend. So yeah, that's me really. Alongside that, obviously this channel was meant to be mainly about books, and I haven't really been reading. I did think about talking about all of the books that I've read since the last wrap up that I did, but I honestly don't think I'd have enough to say about them. There hasn't been very many at all, but what I will say is that my favourite book that I've read during that time was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Oh my god, phenomenal, amazing. The hype is so real. I also haven't really been buying any books, which is a big shock for me, but I guess all my money has been going into theatre tickets instead, which definitely is a more expensive hobby. I had this thing the other day where I was like, oh, I've been doing so well because I've hardly bought any books, and then I thought, but you have bought 20 million theatre tickets, and one book is obviously cheaper than one theatre ticket, so is it really a win? But I did just want to quickly mention this book that I received from my Amazon wish list. This is There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job by Kikiko Tosmara. This took quite a while to get to me because I forgot to change my address on my Amazon wish list and it went to my old flat, but last weekend I saw my old flatmate and she passed this on to me, and this was actually sent to me by Colin in Scotland. That's what the gift note says. So I just wanted to come on here and say thank you. There's no like social media tags or anything on here, so I can't contact you in any other way, but thank you so much, Colin. This was such a lovely gift to receive, and hopefully I can get around to reading it soon. The title of this is what instantly drew me into it, and the like whole concept of work and office jobs is something that I had put a lot of thought into over the past several months. So the whole premise is definitely really fascinating as well. So yeah, that's just a little catch up on where I'm at book-wise. But what I thought I would do for the main bit of this video is talk about some things that I want to read before the end of the year. According to Goodreads, my running total of the books that I've read this year is currently 41. That being said, I'm not sure if I've logged everything during the past couple of months, but I'm just going to go with that number, and the goal that I set myself for the year was 52. That seems like it's achievable, but at the rate I've been reading at, I'm not sure if I'm going to get there. However, as that is 11 books and I'm currently reading one thing, I thought I would talk about 10 books that I'd really like to get to the end of the year. So theoretically, if I read all of these, I would hit the goal. Whether they will be the 10 books that actually complete my year, who knows? Some things never change because I forgot to clear my memory card. So if the angle's changed, sorry. I was saying whether these will be the 10 books that actually complete my year or not remains to be seen. I'll probably change my mind, but I just thought it would be a nice fun little video to kick things off again with. So the first three are the October, November and December books for the I Should Have Read That book club. The I Should Have Read That book club was set up by Shannon from 155 Books, and I'm a co-host of it along with Charlotte from Coiny Reads. I feel like I've been massively failing at the book club so far because I've been reading the books at the last minute, and also because I haven't been making videos, I haven't talked about it. So kind of a rubbish co-host, but I've been enjoying taking part all the same. As the name of the book club would suggest, our aim is to read books that we really feel like we should have read yet, ones that everyone else seems to have read, very hyped books that were hyped like a little while ago, that sort of thing. We've also been alternating where 1 month we read a more modern book and then the next month we read a classic. So for the first 2 months we read Queenie and Pride and Prejudice, meaning that October is going to be a more modern book, and for this we are going to be reading The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Don't actually own this book yet, and we're on like the 22nd, 23rd of October as I'm filming this, so I really do need to get round to that. I also don't really know too much about this. I know that it's like Greek myth based, but that is it. All that I know is that so many people love it, and also love Circe, which is her other book. I'm kind of terrified because Greek myths aren't typically my thing. It's not that I don't like them, I just feel like I don't know a lot about them, so I can get very easily confused. I'm hoping that I will get into this and understand what's going on. In November it's time for a classic, so we're going to be reading The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I do own this, but it is at my parents' house, so I'll have to pick that up when I next go back there so that I can make sure that I read it next month. This one will be a reread for me. I've actually read it twice before. I read it when I was like maybe 16 I think, and then I reread it when I was at uni, and I haven't reread it since, but I do always say that it's one of my favourite classics, or it's one that I would always recommend to people who want to get into classics. It's quite accessible in the language, and you can like understand what's going on a lot more easily than some other books, and I'm very intrigued to be diving into it again after so many years to see if it's held the test of time and if I enjoy it as much this time around as I did the previous times. And then in December we're going to be reading Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, which I do have. Again, it's at my parents' house, so I need to pick it up. And I'm just thinking, does that book have a longer title? My brain, honestly. My mind is literally thinking The Seven Husbands of Addie LaRue, which it definitely isn't. Is it The Secret Life of Addie LaRue? I'm getting confused. I'm thinking of The Secret History. I mean, I could just look it up, but my phone's over there. Anyway, Addie LaRue. We're reading that in December, and this was Charlotte's pick, and I think Charlotte's read it. I'm not sure about Shannon, but I haven't read it, and this was actually a gift from my friend Louise for my birthday, so I'm glad to be getting around to it before the year's out. I've been waiting for like this sort of season where I can like snuggle up and get cozy, because I definitely think that it's that sort of vibe. I believe this is about a character called Addie who people like forget about her as soon as she's met them, but then one day someone remembers her. I've heard lots of hype about it earlier on in the year, and I've never read a V.E. Schwab book, so I'm intrigued that this is going to be my first. So those were the 3 that I'm definitely going to be reading, and the other 7 to make it up to 10 I've just sort of picked out off my shelf, and they're here. I'll talk about them. They're in a random order based on the order that I picked them out in. So the first one is The Bastard of Istanbul by Elif Shafak. I picked this one out because I just feel like I've really wanted to read a book by this author for so long, and I just have this sense, and I've had a sense for a while, that this author is going to be like a new favourite author of mine, and I really don't know why. I think it's just because I've been getting a lot more into more literary fiction and more fiction from all over the world, as I said, and this author is Turkish, I believe. Yeah, an award-winning British-Turkish novelist and the most widely read female author in Turkey. So yeah, I've never read any books from Turkey before, I don't think. And this one is set in Istanbul. The blurb says, a 19-year-old unmarried woman walks into a doctor's surgery. I need to have an abortion, she announces. 20 years later, Asha Kazanki lives with her extended family in Istanbul. All the Kazanki men die in their early 40s, victims of a mysterious family curse, so it is a house of women. Among them are Asha's beautiful, rebellious mother, her clairvoyant aunt, and their hopelessly hypochondriac sister. Into the midst for this madhouse comes Asha's feisty American cousin, and she's bringing long-hidden family secrets connected with Turkey's turbulent past in her wake. Another thing that I really love in books is ones that centre around families over several generations, and also books that feature like women at its core, and this just sounds like it ticks all of those boxes. Next here I've got The Wonder by Emma Donoghue, which was a gift from Victoria, I believe. Yes, Victoria, for my birthday again, and I've been putting this one off from then because it just felt to me more like an autumn winter read. I think it's because the cover's so dark. This follows the story of an English nurse who arrives in an Irish village to observe an 11-year-old girl who hasn't eaten anything for months but somehow is still living and thriving, and as time goes on she has to question whether this girl is a fraud or a living wonder. I've heard so many good things about this book from many people, including Victoria, and I really enjoyed Room when I read that several years ago now. So I'm hoping that my second venture into Emma Donoghue will also be really enjoyable. I would also really like to get to Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, because I do feel like I should have read it in the summer and I might want to put it off until next summer. But I just wanted to read Evelyn first, and then by the time I'd got around to that, it was basically like the end of summer already. I've heard mixed things about this, so I'm not expecting to love it as much as Evelyn Hugo or even as much as Daisy Jones, but hopefully I will still really enjoy it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the cameos from some of the characters that appear in Evelyn in this. Next, I've got The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This was a book that Sylvie from the TBR Diaries was getting rid of, so she passed it on to me. I've still got the post-it note on it from where she wrote enjoy. I meant to read this last year. I had it out from the library for so long, and then in classic me fashion didn't get round to it. This again is like the perfect time of year. I've been waiting until this point in the year to do it, so if I don't, it's gonna be a whole other year. This is just like the symbol, I feel, of dark academia, which is something that I really love. All that I really know is that it's set in a New England college, and I think like someone dies at the start, and then the students and professors have something to do with that. Honestly, don't really know, but I've been dying to read this book for so long. The next thing I have here is Snowflake by Louise Nealon. This is actually a library book, which is really annoying with the ring light. I'm sorry, I'll put it down. I already had to renew this once, so I really would like to read it before I have to renew it again, or it gets reserved by someone else, meaning I would have to return it. This follows an 18-year-old girl who is from a small community in Ireland. She lives on a farm, the blurb says, and then she gets accepted into Trinity College Dublin, and I guess it's about her navigating her new life there, but also some things at home begin to change as well. I have read a few Irish books this year and have really enjoyed all of them, and I'm always looking to discover new Irish authors. Next here I have Scenes of a Graphic Nature by Caroline O'Donoghue, which I know will make Leanne very happy. So the blurb of this one says, after a tough few years floundering around the British film industry, experimenting with amateur pornography and watching her friend's health rapidly decline, Charlie and her best friend Laura journey to her ancestral home of Clippin, an island off the west coast of Ireland. She knows this could be the last chance to connect with her dad's history before she loses him. But when the girls arrive, Charlie begins to question both her difficult relationship with Laura and her father's childhood stories. Before long, she's embroiled in a devastating conspiracy that's been 60 years in the making, and it's up to her to reveal the truth. I read and loved Promising Young Women by the same author earlier this year, and I have just wanted to read like everything that she writes since reading that. So very, very excited to see if I enjoy this one as much as that. And finally, I wanted to throw something into the mix that I've featured so many times, it feels, on my channel. Six Tudor Queens, Anne Boleyn. This series, I loved the first book. I loved it so much, and actually own all of the books now, but I have only read the first one still, and I finished that one over a year ago. I started this in like May because I was reading it on the train to C6 the first time that I went to see it when all the theatres reopened, and I have actually read to page 90, which doesn't look like very much because this book is massive. So I think maybe I'll restart it. I'm not sure. I feel like I can remember what happened, and she hasn't actually met the king yet, so all the like juicy stuff is still to come. So maybe I won't, but I would just love to finish this so I can move on with the rest of the series. They're just quite slow and take a lot of effort to read, but it is worth it. Maybe when I'm at home at my parents' like over the Christmas break, this will be like one of the last things that I pick up in the year, because I'll have time then in those sort of days between Christmas and New Year where you don't really do anything to really dedicate to this book. If I don't read this before the end of the year, please just shout at me, basically. So those were 10 things that I'd love to finish before the end of the year. If you've read any of these, I'd love to know your thoughts on them. And yeah, other than that, that was my first video in a while. I'm looking forward to making some more content. As I haven't been reading at a great pace, I also want to try and incorporate some more videos onto my channel. I had already started my This Month in Musical series where I talk about all the shows that I've been to see, which I'm definitely going to be continuing. I'm actually going to film the September and August one like together after I've filmed this, so there'll be that. and I'm going to keep that going forward as well. I would maybe like to do some more theatre-y content because it's something that I love. So yeah, let me know if you'd be interested in that. Let me know if there's anything else that you'd be interested in, like more lifestyle-y things. I want to have a mix because I don't think I'll be reading enough books to sustain talking about just that. Other than that though, that is it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're all keeping safe and staying well, and I will see you again next time. Bye!